Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Round, and today I'm talking about the new Zach Cregger horror movie, Weapons. That's right, his follow up from Barbarian, a movie that kind of took me by surprise, blew me away along with everyone else in just how subversive it was, how creative it was, and just its ability to whatever we thought was going to happen, or wherever we thought the movie was going, it wasn't. And that's very much the case here with Weapons. So let's get into it.
This is where the story really starts.
I am going to keep this spoiler free, at least until the very end, where I do kind of have to discuss a spoiler thing because I can't really talk about it without getting into spoilers, but I will warn you when we get there. Um, Plot wise, again, can't say too much other than what you already know. In this small town, one night at 2:17 a.m., 17 different kids, all from the same third grade class, all just get up out of their beds and run out of their houses at the exact same time, and they are missing. We pick up a couple weeks later as the town is sort of reeling from that. Fingers are being pointed at the school, particularly the teacher, played by Julia Garner, particularly by one of the parents, played by Josh Brolin, while the principal, played by Benedict Wong, tries to kind of keep things under control, balance her welfare, her mental health, and her kind of coping with this, with the parents demanding answers, and all of which accusing and assuming that she had something to do with it. In addition to its solid cast, which also includes Aiden Arlenrick, who I apologize if I butchered that, but there's just a really interesting cast of characters, both in lead and supporting roles, that make this town feel like a fully fleshed out place. Much like Barbarian, it does keep you guessing. It doesn't really change storyline as much as that did. Everything, you're seeing similar things happen but from different points of view, and I think that's incredibly effective. I know a lot of people are talking about how funny this movie is, but I wouldn't even necessarily call it a comedy. Like, I would say The Monkey is more of a deliberate comedy than Weapons is. In Weapons, the humor and the laughing comes from just how uncomfortable the movie is making you, because it is incredibly tense. It blends things that are fringe supernatural with just good old fashioned humans being humans. And at any given scene, anything could happen. And there's times that you jump from it. There's times that you feel really tense and uncomfortable from it. There's times that you cringe from it. And then there's other times, one scene in particular, where like a character literally yells, "What the fuck?" And the whole audience burst out laughing, not because it was a funny moment, but because that character was expressing exactly what we, the audience, were feeling in that moment. And it does a really good job of sort of portraying the best and worst of humanity, sometimes even within the same characters. And I really, really like the way that it does that, how it takes characters who normally would not work together, or characters that despise each other but find common ground with each other, and sort of shows how this massive traumatic event that affected an entire town kind of brings that out in everyone, and how it changes and affects them, and how when, push comes to shove, when it really, really matters, who's there and who's not, so to speak. I'm sorry if I'm speaking very cryptically. I just We're not at the spoiler part yet. I found the characters, every single character here is relatable, and you understand, even if you don't agree with what they're doing. You feel the trauma, that Julia Garner's character, the teacher, is going through. She lost those kids too, and the whole town hates her. And it's like she can't even process the grief herself, because she's so busy deflecting it, you know, deflecting the accusations from everyone else. Josh Brolin's character, one of the dads, again, he comes off as a hard ass and a pain and just everything. But if it was your kid, you would do the same thing. Like, I have two kids, and were anything to happen to them and I thought someone was responsible, Yeah, I would do probably even more than he did. If I thought that that would actually help, with finding them and getting them back. And even there's this really funny dynamic with Alden Ehrenreich's character and a suspect that have a very weird, interesting, kind of funny dynamic. I saw a review calling this the best Stephen King adaptation that's not a Stephen King adaptation. And I get where it's coming from, that one of the things I think he does best is making his small towns in Maine feel like real lived in places. And I think that's what we're getting at the heart at with Weapons, that it feels, even though there are fantastical things happening, it almost feels like this could happen to any town. And the way that, despite this traumatic event, people are like, well, we kind of have to move on. That sort of grim acceptance of one's fate. My only real criticisms come down to two things. One is a non-spoiler, one is a huge spoiler. Let's talk about the non-spoiler first. This movie, like I said, similar to Barbarian, it kind of every 20-ish minutes it shifts and changes its perspective and which character we're looking through. And I think it works as an effective storytelling device. It's not styled or structured like your typical movie with a three act, first act, second act, third act. It's styled very differently. And I'm fine with this movie doing that, especially because in the third act, everything does kind of converge together into like everyone's POV because, well, everyone's involved. But I think this is a movie that's over 2 hours long, just over. And towards like once you're when you're trying to get to that third act, I think it drags a little bit, and I think it builds its tension a little too long. And I wonder if maybe you could have removed one or two of those like POV vignettes and just added some of the story details to another one, gotten the runtime to under maybe like hour 45, and I think it would have felt paced a little bit better. It feels its runtime only because I think there's maybe one too many of those, and I can kind of think which one I would remove, that you could just add that to this story and it would make a little more, not that it would make more sense, but it would make just as much sense and wouldn't take anything away. My other major criticism, and again, this is me being nitpicky, which I like to say I'm not a nitpicky person, but if you're a channel regular, you're probably saying to your screen right now, Dave, what are you talking about? All you do is nitpick and get hung up on tiny details. And well, yeah, sometimes. But okay. So, first things first, I am going to get into spoilers now. If you do not want this spoiled, you can either stop watching right now, or if you want to make it to the end just to give me more watch hours, first of all, thank you. You're the real MVP. And second, jump to this timestamp where I stop talking about spoilers. Spoilers, it is revealed not only is there another child in the class who did not participate in the running out the door, the police interview him, his name's Alex, just as much as the teacher, Julia Garner. I know her character's name is Justine. I'm just calling them by their actors' names because I can. It's discovered that the whole time it was his great aunt who was behind it, who amazing performance by Amy Madigan as Aunt Gladys. She steals every single scene that she's in, almost making you forget the terrible things that she's doing and almost making you root for her just because of how entertaining and charismatic she is. She feels like she walked off the set of Suspiria and into this like small town Americana horror movie, and somehow it works. So we find that she's the one behind everything. I'm assuming she's like getting old and dying. We can assume she's probably centuries old. A lot of it is left not explained, and I'm fine with that. I'm glad that like they don't get bogged down in the details of exposition dumping everything about her witch powers, her coven, and all that. Like, it's fine. We can fill in the blanks, and that her doing this is a way to keep herself younger and keep herself still alive. Firstly, she tries it with, you know, Alex's parents. That doesn't really work. It's not enough. So then she's like, I need all the children in your class, and I need you to get an item of theirs that is meaningful to them so that I can put them under this spell to make them all run to our house. Spoilers, they were in Alex's basement the whole time. So, I'm fine with that as a plot device, as a plot point, whatever you wanna call it. I'm fine with that as a twist. It works, it's an interesting story. I'm fine with Alex helping her. I'm even fine with her threatening him, "I'm gonna make your parents hurt each other or even kill them if you talk to the cops about this," because, again, he is interviewed extensively by the police after they disappear, just like Justine the teacher, because, well, you guys are still here, so why did they all do this and you didn't? Were you in on it? Did you hear something? So I can buy that she kept him quiet. I can't buy, though, that the police so readily gave up on him and his family, especially when they don't even see the mother and the father is basically catatonic and Aunt Gladys does all the talking. Any good detective would be like, hey, this is really weird that he's not talking and that you're doing all the talking and he almost seems like a zombie, and this makes us even more suspicious of you. But Alex takes the little name tag on all the kids' cubbies. And spoilers, that's how he does it. No one notices that. We even see Justine coming in and catching him just as he's taking the last one off. Like, hey, Alex, what are you doing here all by yourself? As a teacher, she didn't say, "Hey, wait a minute, where's everybody's name tags that are right there? That's weird." Nor did she even after that when she's in her classroom say, "Hey, that's different." Nor did the police comb the classroom and say, "What's different about here? Hey, aren't there usually names here? Hey, I can even see the little Velcro pad thing where they're supposed to go because they've been recently removed. Hey, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense." Yes, I know I'm being nitpicky. Yes, I know that I'm pulling a cinema sins and I don't like them for various reasons, but I think it's an important detail because not every single little detail has to hold up to scrutiny. I'm not one of those people that's like, "Oh, the movie is set in 2010, but it features a car that didn't come out till 2012." Like, that's dumb. Don't That's a dumb thing to nitpick over. Something like this though, it's tied up in the movie's own internal logic, and I don't think it necessarily holds up. Now, it's not enough that it ruins the movie for me. I still very much enjoyed it and loved the experience of seeing it. I loved watching Marcus go into full beast mode, where I thought I couldn't tell if he was just possessed, and then when like his eyes are all bloodshot and bulging out, I thought, oh, did the spell do it to him? No, he just bashed his head that many times, and that's what did it to him. So it's a very effective movie, and these little nitpicks don't take away from it. It doesn't ruin my enjoyment of the movie. It's still one of my favorites of the year. But if it was going to be in my number one pick, having those issues would bring it down a couple spots. But hey, these are just my thoughts. This is just my review. These are just my ramblings. If you'd like to make yours, get your own channel. Just kidding. Watch mine. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up randomly getting up out of bed at 2:17 and Naruto running out the door to who knows where because we're back to the non-spoiler part because, all that. And as always, every day is Halloween.